The term free-range eggs conjures images of clucking hens running freely on large open tracts of farmland. We feel better for buying them. But the truth is that the paying public is being duped. And right now, that's perfectly legal.
Our analysis showed that about 16% of eggs labelled as free range and sold in Australia were not free range at all. They came from battery hens kept in cages.
In a bid to stop what he calls this deceptive practice, New South Wales Greens MP John Kay has introduced the Truth in Labelling Free Range Eggs Bill. If it becomes law, it will set a limit of 1,500 chickens per hectare to qualify as free range.
There just weren't enough free-range laying hens to produce a number of free-range eggs being sold. That alerted us to a whole series of rorts that were happening in the industry. We felt the only way to make sure that when consumers bought a carton of eggs that was labelled free-range, they could have 100% confidence that it was free-range, was to have a legislated definition.
His amended bill passed through the upper house of state parliament last week. And now there's an almighty battle looming as sections of the industry jockey for position ahead of the lower house vote.
They have proved that self-regulation is a complete farce and needs to come to an end. That's what our bill does.
As well as limiting the stocking density, it would outlaw the controversial practice of debeaking, where chickens' beaks are clipped to a blunt end to avoid pecking in the cramped conditions of battery and barn production. It would be permitted only in extraordinary circumstances and after all other avenues had been exhausted. For animal rights campaigners, appalled by the conditions that over 10 million caged chickens in Australia are kept in, the changes can't come quickly enough.
I'm not sure that you'd call it living. They exist, and they exist a miserable life. And if they had thoughts, they think, well, why the hell was I even born? Because everything deserves more respect than that.
At the moment, there is no uniform definition in Australia that is enforceable when it comes to free-range chickens. Under the National Model Code of Practice for the Welfare of Animals, the recommended maximum stocking density for free-range is 1,500 birds per hectare. Industry body, the Australian Egg Corporation, wants that to be increased to 20,000 birds per hectare. It argues that the egg industry needs to provide a growing population with an affordable source of quality protein.
Australian Egg Corporation is dominated by the three large industrial producers of eggs. Those industrial producers recognise that the market is shifting to free range, and they want a way to market their products into the demand for free range. But they don't want the hassle of having to do genuine free range.
But if the big industrial operators prevail, there's a concern that the whole free range sector could be compromised.
Currently, Egg Corporation are trying to redefine free range to 20,000 per hectare, whereas free range farmers work usually around 750 and 1,000 birds per hectare. There's nothing wrong with the outdoor systems of these bigger farms, but they're not free range, and then they don't meet consumer expectation. And if Egg get their way and get 20,000 hens per hectare, all the true free range farmers will be totally disadvantaged, and consumers won't be buying what they think they're buying.
Yet with over 195 million dozen eggs produced in Australia each year, more consumers are beginning to purchase free range.
There's been massive growth. About 30% of eggs by value sold in New South Wales are free range. That's a huge growth from about 20% 10 years ago. We're on an upswing of consumer awareness of the impacts of what they buy on the people and the animals that are responsible for their manufacture.
Organic free-range egg farmer Ian Littleton has owned Clarendon Farm since 1995. He stocks an overall average of 500 chickens per hectare, contributing to an industry worth over $340 million. He says he has no doubt that eggs labelled free-range often come from hens packed in with 20,000 other birds.
The main concern really is over the issue of stocking densities that have been used in some of the descriptions of free range. I've been a long-term believer in that if you're going to free-range farm, then you should be farming in a manner which consumers expect the operation to be run, which basically is low stocking rates, the birds having unlimited freedom to the range area, and also avoiding management options such as beak trimming, which many many of our consumers who buy free-range eggs are quite horrified when they realise the birds have been subjected to that.
That's what we're after, truth in labelling. We think that the box should tell everybody exactly how that hen lived, and then people can make their own mind. And so consumers have a wide-ranging view of what free range is, but I think the point is that they should be getting what they think they're getting and what they're paying extra money for.
Eric Love, Director of the Organic Federation in Australia, says that if free-range egg farmers don't honour consumers' expectations, the reputation of the whole sector will suffer.
The question of certainty in organics, we call that integrity. The integrity of the product is sort of fundamental in the organic sector, because consumers need to be confident that they're buying a certified product. Often, because of the systems that go behind these types of regimes, or whether it's organic or whether it's free range, there is an additional cost of doing that, and that cost is reflected on the shelves, and people need to be have some comfort that if they're going to go for that level, then they're buying what's being claimed.
If you look at the birds around here, you can see that they're actually exhibiting a whole range of behaviours that the birds in cages just cannot. They're free to do the dust bathing and so on, that they're instinctive behaviouralism too. They can explore. They actually range out quite big distances in the cooler part of the day away from the shed, and also they can interact at their own level with the birds around them, and so those features are very important. Plus also the fact of our system, the birds really just follow the pattern of behaviour that the birds in nature would. So just before sunrise, they're out on the range area feeding and so on, and then they're returning just on dusk.
These animals give us, in the end, they give us the ultimate gift. They give us their life, and we should have respect for that.
The bill would be debated in the lower house of the New South Wales Parliament in the next few weeks.